Hi, and welcome to Female Entrepreneurs Magazine, your go to platform for ambitious women who are ready to take the business world by storm. I'm your host, Angel France, and each week we'll dive into the latest strategies, stories, and success secrets from the most inspiring female entrepreneurs around the world. Welcome to the Real Female Entrepreneurs. Our next guest is a powerhouse of resilience and transformation. She is a three-time best-selling author, international speaker, and award-winning entrepreneur. She helps women break through personal and professional barriers. During her own journey of drama and addiction recovery. And plus, she specializes inner child healing, conscious boundaries, and emotional resilience. We all need that, trust me.
Mm.
With 17 years of nursing experience and a passion for breaking generational cycles, she empowers others to step into their full potential, reclaiming their brilliance. So let her help you reclaim your brilliance. So help me welcome Abby Teixeira. Welcome, Abby.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here today with you and everyone else. I am just very much looking forward to this conversation.
Okay. So you were a nurse. What inspired you to become the entrepreneur you were? Something had to happen in your life that
Absolutely.
maneuvered you through, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. So as you shared in my bio, I am a complex trauma survivor and also in recovery from addiction for over a decade now. And prior to that, growing up, obviously in the kind of conditions that I grew up in, um, I always had a heart and passion to really help people. Like that was really something that really stood out for me. I really wanted to be a caregiver of some way, shape, or form. And I had an auntie that was actually a public health nurse or a community health nurse, sorry. And in high school, I actually went to shadow her for one of our like classes where we got to like choose a profession and get to shadow them. And so I shadowed my auntie and I got to like be there with her the whole day. And I saw how, she had this like patient, um, you know, relationship and how she actually like how thankful these people were to come and see her and have that time with her and all that stuff. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to become a nurse. And so, fresh out of high school, I maybe took 1 year off and then I went straight into nursing and began my career in nursing. But very quickly, as I entered into that career, I recognized how limited the impact that I really wanted to create was. Very quickly, I was reminded that, we're there to do a job. We have tasks. We're very much discouraged not to have, any sort of, not to really get connected with our patients and with people. It's just not the nature of our job. And so, so I lost that kind of passion and fire that I had in the beginning of like, truly making an impact and all of that kind of stuff. And that's not to discredit, healthcare professionals, because obviously we're very much needed. And so I went on to that career and I very quickly moved up. I became a manager eventually and had like a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday job. I had my own office. I didn't wear scrubs. Like it was very, very a really nice kind of situation as a nurse where, I came from like uh, shift work and all of that kind of stuff, working nights, all of that kind of stuff. And then I started having kids. So 6 years ago, I had my first baby. And I had been working full time up until that point, nonstop for years, I want to say by that time, I would have had over a decade of working in nursing. And so this was nonstop, full time for 10 plus years. And I had my first child. I had my first year off of work. And, unfortunately, with the birth of my daughter, we had a traumatic birth with her. And she ended up in the NICU. It was like a whole experience. And then I had postpartum depression afterwards. And so we navigated that year. It was all sorts of highs and lows, like the highest of highs, the lowest of lows. It was all sorts of things. But what happened was that when I returned back to work, it was like a big shock for me because being away from that environment and from the work setting and how, I really realized very quickly when I came back how desensitized I had become in the work, because I worked it with the elderly. And so, there's a lot of, yeah, really difficult days there, and it's a little community. It's like a lodge where the elderly live until they have to move to like higher levels of care. And so they live there for years, and we become almost like a family there, to a certain extent, right? And so when I came back, I realized how sensitive I was, and like how I had really masked and really, really had built this kind of shell around myself so that my work wouldn't affect me when I would leave, right? And so yeah, and then obviously all the postpartum hormones, all of that kind of stuff. And I just didn't have the passion for it anymore when I came back. I was just like, I had this baby girl and I was away from her 8 hours of the day, 40 hours a week. And I was like, it just didn't resonate with me anymore. And so right around that time, I was already in my healing and recovery journey, and had been really diving into personal development and, learning to get over and overcome shyness and social anxiety and all of these kind of things. And I started to begin to share about my personal journey of, what it looked like to be in recovery and to heal trauma and all of that kind of stuff. And there was a few people that really spoke life into me and really planted seeds and were like, you have a story to tell, you need to tell it. And I was like, me? Like what? Like nowhere in the trajectory ever had I ever thought about being a public speaker or writing or anything like that. I loved journaling since I was a kid, but I never would have thought that I would become a writer one day or anything like that, right? Like I was very I only knew one way of, like, it was working, go to school, get a good education, then you get a good job, and then that's the rest of your life, right? Like I didn't have any entrepreneurs in my world that I could look to and say, hey, like, they built their own business, any of that, right? And so long story short, somebody took a chance on me, had me on their summit. I shared my story for the first time. And then from there, multiple doors opened up for me to really start spreading my message. And then eventually, little by little, I got certified as a coach, which is what I do now. And really following my heart and passion and the things that really light me up, and the impact that I'm able to create now in the work that I do is absolutely incredible. I feel very blessed and honored to be on this path that I'm on right now.
So you actually help women understand explain, which you help
Yeah,
them explain, because I mean, I can
absolutely.
summarize it, but I'm not gonna do it justice if you don't mind.
Absolutely. So I work with moms who consider themselves cycle breakers. So these are moms who have a very similar past to mine, right? Where they either grew up in traumatic environments, are either in recovery for addiction, or just are in a place where they're survivors. They've been through a lot, and they're at a place where they've done some healing. They're breaking cycles in their own homes and their own family lineages, and then they're at this place where it's like, now what, right? So they have this deeper yearning for something more, something bigger than just being a mom. Like, and trust me, like, this is not for everyone, right? But I know for myself, when being a mom is an incredible responsibility, and it's one of the biggest joys and gifts in my life. But I also have a big passion for impact. Like, that has been really, really big, especially because, of my story of recovery and all of that kind of stuff. I truly feel I have a second chance at life, and I want to do something with this second chance of life that really goes beyond me and my home. And so I help moms to really step into leadership and follow their dreams, whether it looks like becoming a coach or a healer or a guide or a mentor, or even within their communities, with the component of knowing how to regulate emotions, the nervous system, navigate parental triggers, all of that kind of stuff, so that they can actually build the life of their dreams and create impact beyond just their homes. And so that's where I come in, and I do my coaching and mentoring with these incredible women.
That is amazing. And so let's take a step back. How many children do you have?
Yeah, I have 4 kids now, so so I had them back to back. So, little story around that. My husband and I have been together going on 16 years now. So we've been together for a long time. He has been with me through everything. He was with me at a very, like, I was 20, in my early 20s when him and I started dating and all that kind of stuff. And I was still very much in active addiction in the beginning of our relationship. Very functional though. Like, this is the thing about addiction sometimes, where you would not even know based on just looking at somebody, right? We have a very stigmatized way of looking at people who have substance abuse issues, that kind of a thing. We envision them as, paper bag under the bridge kind of thing, but it can be it can be your lawyer, it could be your doctor, it could be your teacher. In my case, I was a nurse, like I was traveling with my husband, we were living in a beautiful home, all of that kind of stuff. And so he's been through everything with me. And from the very start, he was very adamant about having a family, and I was open to it, but it wasn't something that I was leaping towards. Like I was like, I have a lot of things to work on myself. I have certain kind of dreams that I want to accomplish, all of that kind of stuff. And I was also healing, very, very early on in our relationship. And so he was very patient and he waited with me and we grew together and all of that kind of stuff. And so we were already 10 years into our relationship when we finally started having kids, and we decided we wanted to have a big family. We're like, okay, so once we start having kids, we're going to have a big family, and, we're not getting any younger, so it's going to be like bam, bam, bam. so, so my first three are about 15, 16 months apart. So they're very, very close in age. And then my fourth, he just turned 1 in January. So he's about a little over 2 years apart from the youngest before him. And so our house is full. I have a girl, 3 boys. Our house is just dynamic. It is full of life and energy, and they are my greatest teachers. My biggest mirrors, my biggest lessons, and my why. That's why I do what I do. Because as you know, when you're an entrepreneur, especially you're in business for yourself, it can get very hard. It can be very, very hard. And if I know for myself, if I'm not anchored in my why as to why I'm doing what I'm doing, it can be very easy to start thinking about, giving up and all of that kind of stuff. And so they are definitely big drivers for me. And I very much encourage them, even though my oldest is 6, I very much encourage her that whatever she wants to do in this world, you can do it, you can do anything. And she's getting to witness what it looks like to, build a dream and build your dream business and all of that kind of stuff through me in the certain extent that they can understand at 6, 4, actually he just turned 5, 6, 5, 3, and 1. So
So my brother and I are about 14, 15 months apart. My mom said it was like having twins. Was it like
yes.
having triplets because you have
Yes.
okay.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, the first 3 are very close in age, and they are very much like triplets. Yeah, when we go out, they're like, "Oh, are they twins?" Like at least the older 2, they're like, "Are they twins?" Or like when they see the 2 older boys, "Are they twins?" Like,
Uh,
yeah.
so
So
you
it's
just had the last one in January. Any plans for any more?
No, we are done. We feel complete. I had an incredible birth experience with my fourth. It was a full circle moment from the trauma that I experienced with my first. It was very healing and very powerful. But we feel our home is full, our hearts are full, and now I can get back to kind of my new normal as a mom of 4, and all the changes that happen when you become a mom, right? And
Yeah.
so really settling into all of that.
So how do you balance? Okay, this is a
Mhm.
kicker. How do you balance, or is there any type of balance available with working from home, being the female
Mhm.
entrepreneur you're at, and having 4 children under the
Yeah.
age of 6?
Yeah. So these last couple of years have been wild. They have been messy for sure. As I get my footing, right? And trying to balance it all, because I've never been down this path before, right? And I have mentors and I have people that I turn to, but no one really quite has kind of the same journey as me. And so it's been a lot of really tough lessons. Like I love this quote that we either learn by metaphors or 2x4s, and I've learned by many, many 2x4s. And really the big thing is um boundaries and protecting my time and my energy is the biggest lesson that I've really learned in order to be able to balance everything that I do. Because again, I'm a mom, I have 4 kids, I'm a businesswoman, I'm also an advocate and all the other things, right? And so what happened to me is that I had to learn through burnout. And this is something that I know many of us women really can relate to, the constant hustle and grind culture and then burning out. And as moms, we have no days off. Like there's not, I can't call in sick when I'm not feeling well, when I'm burnt out, like it's like, no, you guys, I'm calling in sick. I can't deal with you. It's like, that can't happen. And so for me, it's just really learning what to say yes to and what to say no to. And that really is boundaries, learning boundaries. And, a lot of people are very supportive of your boundaries, and there's some people that aren't. And typically, what I have discovered is that the people that aren't supportive when I start creating boundaries is because they've been taking advantage of me not having boundaries, and it's a hard lesson to learn. It really is. But that's what I do now, where it's like before leaping to say yes to something, I really sit with myself and I really process my decisions based on my values. And so my values are obviously first and foremost my family, and when I say yes to something, that I know that I'm saying no to, spending time with my kids, with my husband, that kind of a thing. So there's a very heavy weight to my decisions now. Whereas, when we're getting started in business, I know for me, I had very much shiny syndrome, or shiny object syndrome, where and FOMO, fear of missing out, where every opportunity that popped up, I was like, yes, 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 because I want to grow and I want to learn and I want to network and I want to all the things, right? And then because of doing that, I would overcommit and overextend myself to the point where I had no breathing room. And and what happens when you do that on a consistent basis, when you're staying up till 3 a.m, catching up on the project that you said yes to, and that it's due tomorrow type of thing, and then I get up at 6 to feed my baby, and this spiral that kind of happens. I finally said enough is enough. And like I said, it had to be through 2x4s for me, to the point where last year I ended up in the hospital at one point, where I had to be hospitalized because of something that I put to the back burner and didn't really look at, where I should have, that something health wise for myself. And that was a big wake up call, where I was like, I cannot continue like this. This is not, I can't function, and so it's really about prioritizing the things that I know are going to move me and my business and my family forward, and letting go of other things that, even though they might be good things and they're fun and all that kind of stuff, I just can't do it all. We all can't do it all, even though we wish we could.
Yeah, we're super women, aren't
Yes,
we?
exactly. Yes, exactly.
All right. What advice do you have for others who are trying to grow their own business and might be struggling a little bit? What suggestions do you have? Maybe
Yeah.
so you deal a lot with drama from the past, family
Yeah.
drama, correct? And
Yes.
breaking generational curses as well,
Yes,
correct?
exactly.
So, I mean, this question really resonates heavy on that, for the simple reason that so many women look at themselves and they stop themselves from doing things because they hear those voices that
Hmm.
people have put into their brain, or they're
Hmm.
afraid to do something because of somebody's going to see something or something like that. What suggestions do you have?
Yeah, the first thing that pops up for me is who you surround yourself with. And it is so critical and so important that when you are endeavoring in anything new, whether it's recovery, whether it's, becoming a mom, whether it's building your own business, it is so critical to surround yourself with others who are in a similar experience, so that they can normalize the struggles as they come up. Because when we endeavor into any one of these life altering kind of situations, or new projects, or whatever it is, or new pathway, if we do it alone, the doubt will start coming in. And when things get hard, you start questioning and doubting and all of that kind of stuff. And I know for me, the reason why I've kept afloat, year after year, despite all the things that I've kind of learned to navigate, is because I really am fully supported and resourced. And so I have a really incredible network of mentors and people and coaches and peers and colleagues that, I know that they get it when I come to them with like a struggle, right? And they won't be like, unlike other people who don't understand this path, they'll be like, why don't you just get a real job? Why don't you just like, all those kind of things, right? And they poke holes in your belief. And it could really, so for some people, that's what creates for them to just give up,
Yep.
right? And so my biggest thing is community. It is so important to surround yourself around other people who are on, a similar path, that can encourage you and support you and be there, when the going gets tough, and then normalize it and say you're on the right path. This is part of it, like don't give up, like, those kind of things is super, super important.
Yeah, so I call it the tribe. You have to
Yes,
have that tribe around,
you have to.
100%.
Yeah.
All right. Knowing what you've learned in your career, what advice or tip would you go back and give your 18-year-old self?
Oh, the biggest thing I would tell myself, and I love this question because I do a lot of inner child healing.
Mm.
And there's not just inner child healing, isn't just inner child, it's your inner teen, your inner young adult, like the different stages of our lives, they all live within ourselves, right? And if I could go back in time and just look at 18-year-old me, the biggest thing I would tell her is to follow what lights you up. Follow what lights you up and what really makes you excited, no matter what anyone has to say about it. Because I definitely am a recovering people pleaser, where, I would abandon myself, which is really what people pleasing is, you are abandoning yourself to make other people happy. And it has never fared well when I have made those kind of decisions based on other people's opinions or what they think is right for me or what they think I should do. Every time I've done that, I've, been in frustration, versus really listening intuitively, what is it that I truly want, and just going out and doing it, and then finding people that will support you in those decisions.
That is so true. There's so many things in our lives that we wanna do. Somebody says, "Oh, that's not gonna work," so we don't do it.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I've done tons of those in my life, and I
Exactly.
always go back to it. It
Mhm.
never goes away. It's gonna
Exactly.
nudge on you and nudge on
Mhm.
you until you do it.
Exactly, exactly. And we just, yeah, that is the biggest thing. You knew all along, but yet, there was the big part of you that was like, oh, like I don't want to disappoint this person, or I don't want to like let them down. And then you let yourself down, you know?
All right, what is one key strategy that has helped you advance your business?
Yeah, so I'm a lifelong learner. I heavily invest in myself. It is the best investment I could ever do, is investing in myself. So I'm always learning, growing, and discovering new layers of myself. And I highly recommend, anyone to do that. I know moms especially have a very big blockage around investing in themselves. And I think women in general, right? Like we will easily pay $2,000 for our kids swimming, for the year. But if it like, if it's a course to like better ourselves, we're gonna like hoove and hum around it and just be like, oh, like really, like, when you know that it's gonna be something that's gonna be beneficial for you, and then it's gonna ripple out to your family eventually, right? And so I really challenge women, and even the women that I work with, invest in yourself. I challenge you to take a chance on yourself,
Mhm.
and it's I've never regretted any time that I've put an investment in myself and learned and grown. So that is a really big thing, because I'm always evolving and changing, and there's new things that come into my world that really light me up and excite me, and then I want to learn even deeper. So then I just, I'll take a class or a course, or I'll hire a mentor or a coach to like further deepen my understanding in this. And then who gets the benefit is not only me, but then the women that I work with, because then I have these new tools, these new resources, these new modalities that I can actually come and serve them with.
Yep, awesome. What about, can you share personally any, like, future goals or plans that are coming up that we should keep an eye out on?
Absolutely. I am so excited at the part of my life that I'm in. So I am turning 40 this year, which is like really surprising. And I feel amazing about it. Like I know age is such a touchy subject to some people, right? I know my
It's
husband and I
not,
always
it's
we
not.
always argue with each other because he hates aging. And I'm
Well,
always like celebrating it, and like, I'm getting some gray hairs, and I'm like, leave them alone. Like they're just like, I've earned these gray hairs, and I'm just really excited about this new era that I'm entering into, as we've completed our family. Now it's like, obviously raising them and nurturing them and all of that kind of stuff. And then at the same time, growing and scaling my business. So right now I work exclusively one-on-one with clients, which is amazing. But I am on a mission to really make a significant impact in my world and my life, and in the world beyond. And I have a motto that says, and I live by this motto, is that, heal generations one mama at a time, and because I truly believe that, as mothers, we have such a responsibility in our homes that we set. Somebody said this to me the other day, and it really stuck with me, where they say, moms are the nervous system of their families, and it's deep, right? Because like I know when I'm in a bad mood at home, everyone around me can feel it. If I'm in a really good, uplifted mood, everyone around me can feel it, right? And so that's why I'm so passionate about giving women the tools and the resources to be able to be those moms, that it doesn't mean we're going to be a perfect mom, because there's no such thing, but like, to be able to know yourself enough, that when you're running on empty, that you need to nourish and replenish yourself, that that you're lacking sleep, so you can resource yourself to be able to like take a nap or whatever it is, right? So that you can benefit your family. And so I see myself, scaling to eventually group coaching in the near future, so having group programs, and then eventually being able to like mentor and teach others to be me, like to replace me and like do what I do, and then be able to then, really serve their communities and beyond. And that's how ripple effects really start to create waves, ocean waves in the world. And so those are some of the things. And travel is a big thing. Obviously with a family of 6, it can get very tricky when we start thinking about, trips and traveling. And it's like right now, like when we're trying to think of we do a lot of road tripping in the summer, which we love. But if we were to take a plane, we have to pack the stroller, the car seats, like all of these things, right? So it's like it's very complicated. And so I definitely am really looking forward to treating my family to like a really big, beautiful vacation within the next few years, so that they can start to see the world and all of that kind of stuff. And eventually I want to write a memoir. So my own, like full on kind of book. That's a 5-year passion project for me. And to expand my speaking, speaking as keynote and all that kind of stuff. So lots of dreams. I love dream building.
Love it. All right. Have a superpower for just 24 hours, one day. What would it be?
I would either duplicate myself. So
Capacity.
yeah, or I would pause time. I would pause time for a moment. Yeah, because there are some moments in life that I wish I could just savor for a few more seconds.
I wonder if you could do both. That would be perfect.
Yeah.
All right. What's one fun fact about you that not a lot of people know about?
Okay, this is really fun because I just literally learned about this not very long ago. So, whenever I have sharp cheddar cheese, my nose gets sweaty. And I actually found out it's because I have a bit of an intolerance. And so I was like, oh, like in conversation with someone, we were talking about this one day. And I was like, isn't it funny when you eat sharp cheese, how your nose gets sweaty? And they were like, that means you're intolerant. And I was like, what? Not cheese, no.
I think you're gonna have to test cheese. See what you have. That one's
Yeah,
funny. That one's really
yeah,
cute. All right.
yeah,
What about a book? Do you have a favorite book or books? Well,
yeah.
you
I'm an
have 3
avid reader.
yourself, so we need that
Yes.
too.
So I've co-written 3 books, Heal. One of them is called Heal. The other 2 are Business, Life, and the Universe. So I have chapters in all 3 of those, which are my faves because there's just a compilation of incredible stories in there of all diverse backgrounds, men and women. Really, really beautiful compilation books. And then recently, so I'm an avid reader. I read at least a couple of books a month, which has definitely scaled back since becoming a mom. I used to love reading like physical books, and now I really listen to them. But recently, 2 of the ones that really stand out to me is one of them is called Remember Your Roots, and that's by Christina Livia Hernandez. And the other one is called You Are the Medicine by Asha Frost. Both of them are friends of mine, actually. And this has opened up a new chapter in my life, these 2 books, of really exploring my ancestry. So my roots, where I come from, like all of that kind of stuff. And it has been such a beautiful journey of discovery and finding out, my lineage and the women especially that came before me and the things that they endured and all of that kind of stuff. So it's been really, really fun. So those really stand out to me.
Okay, that sounds like way cool. I've been watching
Yeah.
Outlander lately when I have a moment.
Oh,
Have you
yeah.
ever watched that?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
yeah. So how she actually goes back in time, and like right now we're in the last, and she's making the penicillin
Wow.
or an
Wow.
ether. So
Yeah.
so she could do surgery. I mean, and they think she's a witch. It's like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, yes, exactly. And that's like the thing too. Like, a funny story, just because you mentioned that.
yeah,
My daughter, she loves kind of like, I don't know, there's something about her. She's always loved dark things. Like she loves Halloween. She loves like, those kind of like spooky kind of things. And so the other day I was like joking with my husband and I was like, I think that she like maybe in a past life she was a witch. And my husband like looks at me and kind of chuckles and was like, "Oh, like you mean like the green and big nose and the broom and the hat?" And like I was like, "No, no, 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 no." I'm like, that's the colonizers' way of looking at witches.
yeah,
Witches were actually medicine women. They were
yeah.
healers. They were midwives. They were the doctors in their villages, but they were deemed that to
Right.
kind of villainize all that. So it's a whole other topic that we can get into. But
Oh, it's a whole other topic. But
yeah,
you go back and you
yeah,
look at that ancestry and see what actually they did. There is no way, like in the
yeah,
1700s, I'd be able to have lived.
exactly. Me too. Me too.
I'm like, there's no way. And then once before America even became United States, and they were
Yeah.
just coming over before the
Hmm.
war, I
Hmm.
mean, that was amazing what they had to go through. I mean, the
Exactly.
women with the oh
Yeah.
my God, their
Yeah.
struggle.
Yeah, and that lives in our DNA, our
Yeah.
ancestors. And the more that and it really answers a lot of questions as to why we have certain blockages, why we have certain phobias, fears, the whole thing. So that's why I
Mhm.
love those two books, because they really opened up a big curiosity for me to really explore what my roots are and what my medicine is, because we all have a unique medicine to bring into the world. It's just about discovering what that is.
Yeah, I can't wait to read that one as well.
Yeah.
But let's go back, but this plays a really big part in the what you teach, because those generational curses
Yeah.
that are even back in from the 1700s, chasing tracing those roots
Yeah.
and understanding them
Hmm.
and what
Hmm.
happens.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like I said, obviously I come from, my parents are from El Salvador, and in Central America in the 80s when we escaped, there was a massive civil war. It was very violent and it was awful. And my dad actually was a child soldier. So he went into the military when he was 14 years old and did military things, like really horrific things that were very traumatizing, and how his um uncles kind of like helped him through that. And he lost his dad when he was 14, never got to have a funeral, like all sorts of trauma, lots and lots of trauma. And how his uncles really helped him process that was really encourage him to drink. They were just like, here, take this bottle, have this, and you don't have to think about anything. That's generational. Like they're
Yeah.
teaching what was taught to them, right? And like this is the exact thing, is how when we don't process like how they describe cycle breakers. And I actually watched a video about this last night, actually, and they were talking about how as cycle breakers we are the ones that step up and step forward, and we are the ones that allow ourselves to feel the pain that our ancestors didn't allow themselves to feel, whether it was through addiction, whether it was through death, whatever is the case, right? That cycle wasn't broken, so it just continues and continues and continues and continues. And that comes from generations, right? Like when I look at, we don't even know very much about my ancestors in terms of like my great grandparents. There's no pictures. I don't know what they look like. I don't even know what one of my grandfathers looks like. There was no pictures. Everything got burned during the war. So I've been doing a lot of exploration about all of that kind of stuff. And then when I look back from what I do know, this is the generational cycles of poverty, of war, of addiction, of trauma runs very, very deep on both sides, right? And so in order to understand it and heal it, I have to like actually acknowledge it, right? And see, oh, okay, so this is why, and again, and our parents did the best that they could, with what they had. But when I became a mom and I started to recognize certain patterns and cycle come up in my parenting, that was things that I was parented with, I immediately was like, no, I don't want this to be passed down. And so that's when the work starts, right? Where you become aware of this, the pattern, and then you start doing the work and to be able to rewire our brain. And it's not easy work, because again, a lot of this patterning is deeply ingrained in our subconscious. where it's in our subconscious. And so it's like, it's a lifelong journey. I truly believe that I'm going to be always working on these things, but the more you become aware of it, the more you have tools and resources, the more manageable it becomes, and then that's how you're able to rewrite patterns, for the future generations, right? Like my kids will never know what it's like to live in a home with an alcoholic, with all sorts of chaos happening. They're already way further down the road than I was at their age, and it's important. It's important work. It absolutely is, because if not, if I would have not chosen this path, first of all, I don't even know if I'd be a mother. Second of all, if I was, it'd be a very different reality for them, right? And then that's how it just kind of continues and continues and continues until someone says enough. It ends with me.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
All right. On a
Mhm.
positive note, one of your favorite songs
Ooh.
or song?
Um, so I love this bachata artist. They're called Aventura, and the lead singer, his name's Romeo Santos. I actually went to his concert this past summer in Phoenix, and it was a dream come true. So anything from them, I pop it in, and they have beautiful love songs, like beautiful, like just beautiful music, and so that always puts me in a really good mood.
That's beautiful. All right. Favorite quote.
Oh, I love this one. It says, "Shame dies when stories are told in safe spaces." And this is a quote from Anne Voskamp. I love that. It is the premise of why I do the work that I do. Because when I started to share my stories that used to keep me in bondage of shame and secrecy, I realized the power that it has when you start to talk about these things and then other people resonate and they see themselves in your story. Powerful, so powerful. And truly, the shame cloak just completely comes off when you start doing that.
All right. And how do you stay motivated?
My why, my why. I wake up in the morning and I remind myself. I have a ritual that I do every morning, and I have a mantra that I read out and everything, really just remembering why I'm doing what I'm doing, when the going gets tough. And it's usually, my, again, first and foremost, my children, their future, and then the impact that I want to create in my world. And so really getting crystal clear as to what is that anchor, what is that why every morning, or when things are going rough in your day, midday, remember, come back to that center, why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. All right. What is the best way for our audience to stay connected with you?
Yeah, so I live in Instagram. I've built quite a bit of a community there, and I post lots of content on all the things we talked about today, on cycle breaking, on recovery healing, on entrepreneurship. So my handle is at uh.vee. So it's Avi, and people always ask me, where did that come from? It's actually how you say Abby in Spanish, and so it's like a childhood. It's a pun towards my little me, and so it's a little Avi. And so, yeah, so on there. And then if you want to be a part of my email list, I have all sorts of goodies when you join in my email community. And yeah, I'll have the links for that for you.
Thank you. That's going to be fun. So,
Mhm.
what else would you like to discuss with our audience today that we haven't talked about?
I think what's really in my heart is this, because we're living in hard times, we're living in very interesting times, a lot of things are happening all at once. And I know for many of us, especially as wives, as moms, as entrepreneurs, we can really fall into isolation sometimes, where, we start to isolate and we start to think that we're the only ones, and that, no one else will get us, all of that kind of stuff. And my message to anyone who might be feeling that right now, that, life is hard, and I don't see a way out, and all of that kind of stuff, is to really remember that a mentor of mine says, we don't become ourselves by ourselves. And so we truly need people and community to be able to thrive. And so really just know you're not alone. There's a community of women, men, and people in the world that can understand your story, that get where you're coming from. It's just about finding those communities. And I definitely am on a mission of creating a really big worldwide community of cycle breaking moms to come together during the hard times and know that you're not alone, and that we can get through anything that life throws at us, and that we really truly thrive in community.
Thank you so much for being with us. You're amazing. And oh my God, your heart and your passion, it just exudes out of you. I love it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. This was so much fun. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Abby, for being on.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Female Entrepreneurs Magazine. I hope you found inspiration, actionable tips, and a sense of connection with our incredible community of driven women. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a review, and share the episode with fellow entrepreneurs who are ready to elevate their game. Remember, your success is just the beginning, and we're here to support you in every step of the way. Until next time, keep shining, keep thriving, and remember, you have the power to create the business and life of your dreams. Stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.